Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, your host. And today we're going to talk about a show that actually was almost a decade in the making. Here's what I mean by that. If you're a fan of Father Brown, and we all are here, whether we watch it on Britbox, which is how I consume it, many of you around the world see it on BBC. In the first year of Father Brown, they introduced you to a young nun who, in her own right, enjoyed solving crimes. And that was, of course, Sister Boniface. Now, Sister Boniface is from the St. Vincent's Convent. And as we said before, she started that role with Mark Williams, who plays, of course, Father Brown, back in the first series. Now, we fast forward to the 1960s in rural England. And Sister Boniface is out there helping solve crimes. Now, the beauty of the show is like the beauty of Father Brown. And that is, we get a fun story. Yes, it's a murder, but it's always solved within that 1 hour time frame. And it's always done cleverly, well written. And in this case, with regards to Sister Boniface, you get to see a beautiful little village. Honestly, it's just a very nice show the entire family can enjoy. So my guests today are executive producer Will Trotter and Lorna Watson, who plays Sister Boniface. I gotta say, guys, this is a very entertaining show, and it really is in the mode of Father Brown.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if Will was going to talk then. I think that's one of the lovely things about it, that you could sit down as a family and enjoy it. It's a very warm show. It's got, yes, there's a bit of murder in there, but there's a lot of warmth, a lot of love in the show, and I think and it's funny, and I hope and I think and some great characters in there as well. It feels like there's a lot of interesting characters and their relationships with each other. So yeah, I think it is something that you could sit down and watch as a family, and there aren't loads of those shows out there. So yeah.
No, not really. No, unfortunately. It's funny. One of the things I think about it, as you say, there's murder there, but it's not gruesome. It's handled in a, like Father in Summer and some of the others that have been around for a long time. Yes, it's murder, but it's not gruesome.
Yeah. I think it's more, it's sort of less about the actual murders and more about how we solve them. It's the forensic element of the show is its kind of unique DNA, really. And I think, I think being set in the 1960s, and we, given the sort of technological constraints of the time, it's just that added extra element, that I think makes the show richer, actually, that we're finding out how forensically a crime would be solved, but in that period. It feels quite unique. And genuinely quite interesting. I didn't know about 1960s forensics until I started playing Boniface. So, I hope that there's a bit of puzzle solving in there. And as I said, there are these lovely, rich relationships that I hope, we really enjoyed making this show. And I think, I just hope that translates. Yeah.
Oh, it absolutely does.
I could chip in here.
Please jump in.
Because
Absolutely.
what I think is quite unique about it, and Lorna's just mentioned a few of the things, but just to circle back on your family show concept, everyone, when I was a kid at age 10 or 11, you wanted a chemistry set. You just wanted a chemistry set, either to make a stink bomb or to go and sort of play or do something or make it feel like you're intelligent, So there's something about, and the actual Lorna does it so brilliant. There's something childlike about her quality of performance that feels like it's relatable to all these members of the family, not just, but kids sort of connect with it. So I think it's a unique show in that sense, because of course with all the puzzle stuff, and it's procedural, so you can see the cops doing their job. But because it's 1960s and nobody really knew what was going on, if you're a family who don't really know the detail, it's great watching Sister Boniface unpick all this stuff in front of you and explain it to you. So it's not always being taught, but in a very sort of, beautiful way, in a very sort of, entertaining way.
Yeah, it's organic, and so you got that going for you. How did the concept of Sister Boniface come about?
Well, if I can answer that in the first instance, we did Father Brown many years ago, the first series, and wonderful Jude Tindall is one of our great writers, who's the lead writer on this and creator. She created Lorna's character, Sister Boniface, in an episode which she wrote, where 3 nuns get murdered in a convent. We loved the episode so much, and we absolutely adored Lorna's performance, that we were racking our brains about how we can bring her back, and particularly it's quite specific a convent, And then we thought, well, you know what? Why don't we just hold this character in abeyance? Because Father Brown might only run for 2 or 3 series, and now we can bring her character in and move it on and make it a different show. Well, we're into our 10th series of Father Brown now, so I mean that's just been an astonishing, an incredible success. And we just couldn't leave Lorna sitting on the shelf for too long, so we thought she's going to get kidnapped by somebody else. So. I sold this. We got together, myself and Neil, the scriptures, and Jude. So let's work this up. And I sold it to Britbox, who loved the idea because they just bought all the Father Browns back off Netflix, and it's doing so well for Britbox when it kicked off. The idea of a companion piece like Sister Boniface, which is different, and it has got its own unique brand. Was just too much for them to sort of turn down. So thank goodness, because it's been a great show, and Lorna's a class act. So there you go. Over to you, Lorna.
Yeah, how it came about for me was I did an episode of series 1 of Father Brown, and then as you do, did the show, put it to bed, and cracked on with my life, and then got the most extraordinary phone call, however many years later, saying, you're not going to believe this, but Sister Boniface is they want to give her own series, and well, it was just bonkers. I was just completely surprised, but in a obviously in a great way. I mean, I couldn't wait. And I think what's lovely is I so enjoyed playing her the first time around, but to get to really explore a character that I already loved, but in so much more detail over 10 episodes has just been a real treat, actually. I've really enjoyed it.
It's funny sometimes. I actually episode of Father Brown. I'm a big Father Brown fan. So it's funny because it didn't jog in my head until you guys brought it up. But yeah. You became a spin-off, and spin-offs are part of television. It's a good.
Yeah, I mean, I'd had no idea that the character had resonated so much. It had resonated with me. I mean, I absolutely loved. I'd always wanted to play a nun, and also to play a character so actually intelligent, because I don't normally get to play clever people. I don't know why, but it's true. So actually to play a real brain like her has been also just really interesting. But I wasn't expecting it. So it's just been a surprise, an amazing surprise, and it's and a real adventure. And I've laughed all summer. We had such a great time shooting, and the cast are amazing, the crew were amazing, Will's amazing, everyone's amazing. And, I just hope that people are going to enjoy watching it as much as, we enjoyed making it.
Yeah,
well,
Jim,
from your
call her.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Jim, we were talking about her intelligence, the character's intelligence. We call Sister Boniface ourselves between us Google in a wimpole.
That's good.
That's funny. That. You have such great chemistry with the entire cast of it's just each one of them bring a little something to the party. Sister Boniface, how did Will, when you're putting that together, how did that we've got a really great group here with Father Brown, how how do you bring together a new with Sister Boniface that, frankly, in what I've seen, it's seamless. I mean, it's like these people have been working forever, and they just did. I just saw one show.
Yeah, it's part of the creative process. I mean, obviously, Jude has to take most of the credit for this because she created not only Lorna's character but created the series. But myself and Neil, and we all sit down together and we work out things. And at first we thought the two detectives might be too much, but she fought for that. And she actually, it works that you're going through Jerry's character, and when he turns up, the audience are then taken into this kind of otherworldly place through his eyes. So that's a clever technique. And then suddenly you see so he's new to the world, we're new to the world, the audience, but the rest of them are all in this slightly offbeat world and are happy living there in this. And so all surprises that he gets, the audience are getting. So that was a very clever technique. And then on top of that, we wanted to build, around Sister Boniface, we wanted to build her team, her gang. And that gang, because we wanted that to be different from Father Brown, we wanted that to be procedural as opposed to the 1950s, where there wasn't really any great CSI, crime scene investigation. It was all about instinct and confessions and so on. We wanted that team to be good police people, quirky but good police people, and so that's where we came from with that. And also, that I wanted a love interest, and I wanted a strong female character, and so we created the editor of Miranda's character, Ruth, the editor of the local paper, and that gave us another sort of layer of will they, won't they element to it. So because Sister Boniface herself is such a unique, brilliant character, but she lives in another world. She lives in a convent, so we needed the outside world to work as well as the inside world. So she comes out and in and out, but so you had to sort of think all those things. That's all part of that process. That's just because Jude's such a great writer, it lands.
And Lorna, from your standpoint, was it someone in the 1960s?
I'm so sorry, Jim. I didn't catch the question. I'm so sorry.
No, not at all. What I was saying is, was it fun to play a character in the 1960s? Because you get to go back, but it's not that far back.
Yeah, it was such a great idea to set it in the 60s, actually, because it's so, it's quite a progressive decade in many ways, but also visually very rich as well. I mean, the costumes, the cars, it was very exciting, actually, to be on set around all of that, but also to be playing a character who excelled in her field, the field of forensics, at a time in history when, women weren't necessarily seen as career driven. I think she's quite a trailblazer in that respect. And as you mentioned, Will was mentioning, Ruth at the newspaper, and WPC Peggy Button as well. We've got, and also other female characters that come on board in episodes. There's a lot of, women in the show who are, striving and ambitious, and it feels like, yes, there is a sort of progressive feel to the show. I think it's quite exciting. Yeah,
kind of like when the 60s, at the early parts of the 60s, there was this movement, and by the end of the 60s, there was we are here, you pay attention. And that's kind of like something that you might have seen in Mad Men, or those period pieces where the guys were jerks the whole way through, but they back later in the 60s. So you kind of, as the arc moves forward, and not to get here, but anyway, I just thought the 60s was a perfect era for this particular.
Yeah.
Me.
And also, I suppose that, as we're a sister show to Father Brown, that it just gives it that extra difference, from 50s to 60s. And there's a progression there as well, which is quite nice. Although Father Brown is still in the area, very much in the area.
as well they should be.
And Sister Boniface, I mean, because of her unique skills, her forensic skills, her super brain, she's at the forefront, the cutting edge of the latest, if you like, technology in science. And so therefore, that was happening in the 60s. It wasn't until the end of the 60s till DNA and all that kind of stuff really exploded.
Sure.
But at this time, that works perfectly for her character because she's as she says, she's progressive, she's advanced, she's ahead of the game, ex-Cambridge,
Right. And someone who embraces it as opposed to runs away from it.
Yeah. And also I will say, someone who's needed by the police for her skills. She's that good. Where would their cleanup rate would not be what it is if it wasn't for her and her laboratory. I mean, whereas Father Brown, of course, he's, when the police see him arrive, sort of rolling their eyes and everything, but she's actually welcomed in. I mean, they need her. So yeah, it's a great dynamic, because it's just so weird that a nun would be working with the police.
Special thanks to Will Trotter and, of course, Lorna Watson, who plays Sister Boniface, right on Britbox. Check it out. As we said before, it's entertaining, it's fun, it's a whole family type program, and there aren't that many of those out there today. So check out Sister Boniface. All the information on the show is in our show box below. We'll be back with more of Stream On Miranda for this from our folks at BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
At BMW, we know leaving the road wasn't easy, but anticipating our return taught us to appreciate every drive. The exhilaration of the ultimate adventure. Moments spent with your favorite co-pilots. And the freedom to explore just because. Our time to rejoin the road is finally here.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, if you're not one of the over 75,000 people worldwide who take some time to join our little family here, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, we make it easy. It's free. You can go to the Apple Podcast Store, same at Google Play. You can find us at Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, as well as TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and, of course, YouTube. Now, that's just to name a few. You can find it on pretty much any of your destinations that you get your podcast. Now, if for some reason you can't find us, cool, not a problem. If you have an assistant device, like, say, Alexa, or maybe Siri, perhaps Google, all you have to do is ask them to play the show, the latest edition, and they'll do it for you. Now, if after all that you still can't find us, don't worry. Pull out the old Google machine, type in Stream On with Jim Williams, hit the subscribe button, not the phone, hit the subscribe button, and the like button, and you'll get a brand new edition of the podcast sent directly to your phone, your tablet, or to both, okay? So please go out there and do that for us today. We would greatly appreciate it. Speaking of greatly appreciating, we greatly appreciate executive producer Will Trotter and Sister Boniface herself, Lorna Watson, for taking some time to drop by and talk about their outstanding show, which you can see right now on Britbox. It is, of course, Sister Boniface. We will be back next week, and we've got some cool things in the offing. So check in with us next week. The tease is, no matter what it is, you'll find it interesting, I guarantee you. Until then, I'm Jim Williams saying so long for everyone here at Stream On.